Hi, I'm Matthew from Advisor Tech Partners. I've worked with over 50 different advisory firms that utilize both Redtail and Wealthbox CRM systems. At Advisor Tech Partners, we help financial advisory firms implement the industry's best practice management, workflows, and automations to their firm. We believe that this information should be available to everyone and not hidden behind a paywall. So if you enjoy this content, please feel free to subscribe below and also give us a like and share our content with your fellow people in the industry. So in this first part of our video series, we're going to be talking about contact details, but there are 3 different areas that we're also going to be focusing on in later videos, including workflows, maybe cleaning up your opportunity pipelines, as well as starting to build out activity templates if they are not already built out in your Redtail, now going to be your Wealthbox CRM system. Today, we're going to be showing you how to start transitioning over your Redtail CRM over to your Wealthbox CRM. The first main thing that we want to focus on today is really looking at your contacts page. We're going to be looking at Joe Schmo. This is going to be our example client. So we see a lot of advisors customize 3 different areas within their contact details. The first being status, second category, and the last one is their source. To gather this contact information and these contact details, we're going to want to navigate over to the top right section under your name and then click on manage your accounts. After you click on manage your accounts, you're going to see an option here below called Manage Database List. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And from here, you're going to see a couple of different options on your right hand side. So the first one is going to be the contacts, and again, we said categories. So for example, your contact categories may look like you have a tier level service for your clients. So you may have a tier 1, 2, and 3. You may go by A, B, C as well. But in our example, we're going to be utilizing the 1, 2, 3 as our use case. So I'm going to go back to our example client Joe, and we'll see here that we have our tier 1, 2, and 3. So I'll look up Joe, and I'll see here that he is a tier 1 client. And you'll notice on the previous screen in our contact category settings that there are other options that we can pull from. So I'm going to show you how to do that in Wealthbox. So if I know that, let's say, these 4 different categories need to be transposed over into Wealthbox as a contact category, the way I'm going to do that is by logging into Wealthbox, the 3 dots on the top right, and then settings. On the left-hand side under Workspace, you're going to want to click Customizations. And then finally, you're going to want to click Contact Types. So in our case, we have already built out our types of clients here, being the client 1, 2, and 3. But let's say there is a 4th type of client. We're going to go ahead and click that green button on the top right, Create Contact Type. And then in the empty field below, we're going to enter in that tier 3 client. We'll click the green button to save. And now you'll see that that contact type has now populated towards the bottom. So I can drag it up easily. So if you want them to show up in a specific order, that will also help you and the rest of your team members utilizing your new CRM system. So now that we updated that custom category, I'm going to go ahead and go back to our Joe Schmo example client, and on the top right, click Options, Edit, and then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom under Contact Type, you will now see that that new custom tag that we created is now available to us. So let's say, for example, in Redtail, we just hadn't updated that category. In here, we can go ahead and make sure that that new category that has been added is here. And again, just as a reminder, in Redtail, the language that they use is contact categories. And in Wealthbox, they use contact types. So to review what we did, we just went over the adding and transposing of those types of contact categories that you have built out in Redtail. and into Wealthbox. If you have more that you want to create, or maybe it's a good time to reevaluate the types of categories that are now going to be contact types in your Wealthbox, I would talk amongst your team. It's a great time to really just clean house and make sure that you are updating your CRM to get great data out of it. So now, once we're done updating this information, we're going to want to go ahead and start focusing on the statuses. And this one is a little bit peculiar in most cases, because in Redtail we have the ability to customize the types of statuses that a client can be, or maybe a prospect. So for an example, if we have a contact that is maybe a active or a cold, a hot, or maybe an inactive prospect, we can track that along the way and along their client journey. But in Wealthbox, if we go back to our example client Joe, and if we click on the top right button, click edit, and then we scroll down to the contact status, we see that there is only 2 types of options. Now this is only one limitation that Wealthbox has, as they wanted to keep their status for contact searching simple. If you would like to start implementing the practices that you have already used at Redtail, here's the fix. So to create that custom contact status in Wealthbox, we're going to want to go ahead and go navigate back to the top 3 dots, click Settings, and then Customizations, and then finally on our right hand side you're going to see this blue button, Custom Fields. So once we click on that, you're going to have the ability to create a custom field. This is going to allow you again to sort and filter your contact data, your prospects, as well as any companies or trusts or households that you work with. So you can also dive deeper into projects, tasks, events, and investment accounts. But for our purposes, we're going to be focusing on contacts. So we'll select contacts. Then here we're only going to want to be able to select one option. So we'll click that single select drop down. Again, to keep it very simple, we are going to name this contact status as our field label, and then below we are just going to go back and forth from our Redtail over to our Wealthbox CRM to make sure that we are capturing all of those relevant field options. So our first one will be active. Our second one can be inactive. Next, maybe we want to add a cold prospect or a cold status. So we'll add cold. Maybe there's one where a prospect or a client may be pending. So we'll go ahead and add pending. And I'll go ahead and make sure this only really shows up for, in our case, just people and companies, as typically you're going to be having people and companies as a contact type. So we'll go ahead and click that Save Custom field. And now if we navigate back to Joe, and then again going through our same procedures of options and then edit, we see that we have our new contact status field here. And again, with all the custom fields that we had created, and we're only able to select one. Here's a great disclaimer too. If you feel like that you were maybe not utilizing your contact statuses in the best fashion, and really were only categorizing active and inactive clients, then by all means, utilize Wealthbox's already created templated status field, as this can serve as a great way to filter out and really just make sure that you're only pulling data for inactive or active clients, prospects, or maybe COIs at your firm. So lastly, now that we're finished with our statuses in Redtail and transporting them over into Wealthbox, we're going to want to focus on our sources. So if we click on sources over here, we see that we have a couple of different options for the sources in which we may generate revenue and have our marketing funnels. So for example, maybe we have a weekly blog that goes out and we try to attract clients, maybe new clients, and just really engage with them. Maybe there's a COI or two, an accountant, a lawyer that you have, and you just want to keep track of them. Further on, if you host dinner or seminar events and you want to be able to track where these prospects are coming from, these are all great use cases for building out those custom sources, and I'll show you here now in Wealthbox how you can do that. So now that we're back in Wealthbox CRM, I'm going to show you how you can start customizing those contact sources. So first, we're going to go ahead and click on the top three dots, then Settings. On the left-hand side, click on Customizations. And then finally, we see our contact sources here. So we'll go ahead and click on Contact Sources. And for our sake, we had already added most of the contact sources, but in your case, you're going to want to go back and forth and make sure that all of these sources match with your Redtail CRM. So if we do need to create a new one, so I don't see a blog here, I will go ahead and create a contact source by clicking this green button. And then in the empty field, go ahead and paste that information and get rid of any additional spaces, as when you run reports, it may mess with you pulling that information. Finally, you'll click on that green Save button. And if you know that, hey, I generate a lot more leads from my blogs and I want that to show up first, you're able to drag and drop the order in which these contact sources will show up. So now that we're finished with importing our Redtail statuses, category, and sources over to your Wealthbox CRM, we just finished the first part of transporting over and making sure that your new CRM in Wealthbox is ready to receive and import all of your contact and client data. In our next videos during this video series, we're also going to be showing you how to import over your contact UDFs, which we can see here below, that also need to be custom built out in Wealthbox. We'll also be going over workflows and how to transport those over, because there are a couple of different ways that Redtail and Wealthbox CRM workflows differ. We'll also be going over how to maybe rethink your opportunity pipeline and start building out the best practices for your firm moving forward in Wealthbox. And then lastly, we're also going to be talking about starting to utilize and maybe introduce the idea of activity templates, as we've seen a lot of firms succeed with starting to build those out. So hope you enjoyed this content and follow us along our journey with growing our YouTube channel. And again, if you feel like this information has been helpful, please feel free to share it with anyone in your network. Take care.